I'm going to touch on that point. I was actually at an event early this morning, and I wanted to approach a CEO of a very well-funded young startup building very interesting AI things. And I'm like waiting kind of by for my move for when I go and say hi. And the person before me was pitching what he's building. And he said, I wanted to speak to you because I think we could maybe work together on something. My company does da 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 da. I was listening. And you're doing what you're doing. Does it sound interesting? And I'm watching this guy who I was there to try and speak to. And he was like, sounds really interesting. Would love to have a conversation about it. And for me, that was like a ka-ching. That's the moment. You're being open to it. There's like a humility that I think it also takes when approached to work together with someone or something. He didn't say, nah, what do we need you? We just got fresh funding. That's why we're the ones on the talk here. So again, I think that mindset is something that's really interesting. When it comes to channel, though, it means that you need to get on board your salespeople. So if you've got a CRO at a new startup, he's all excited about the new tag, he's spending money like sales leaders do in order to, of course, drive revenue. Comes along now the new hire, boom, a channel person. Leadership have decided that we're going to start investing in channel too. Friction. I'm seeing this play out in so many different companies. From the get-go, there's some kind of resistance between the teams and competitiveness between them because it's who's going to get that territory, who's going to sell to that logo. And it puts the C-level, the CFO, the CRO, the CEO in a tough decision then on like, okay, who are we going to back? It's always going to be the salesperson because they're closer to the CEO. They were there beforehand. But it then means that they're waving goodbye to a lot of revenue that they're probably going to go and tap back into that motion in a year or two once that guy's left. Is this a familiar thing to you? Do you also see it happening in companies?
It is familiar, and I think that it's not just familiar; it's common, right? So I think you had two stories there, and I think they're both tied to the same thing. It's the KPI and the expectations. So these two founders that met each other and said, well, can we cooperate? So my question would be, what's the KPI of this cooperation? Because it's great to meet someone and say, okay, let's do something together. But you can take anything, but there is a cost of doing something, of not doing something else. So is it better to, connect with another small startup, or is it better to try and connect to Google, Microsoft, which might be more challenging, go to a channel and a territory that might be more challenging, but will be more rewarding. So the question is, what's the KPI? If the KPI is a new product, that's one thing, or enhancement of the product, and that will lead to something, then let's think how we measure it and let's test it, right? I'm all about testing.
Yeah.
And maybe eliminating, and also eliminating in early stage something that you don't think is going to provide a lot of feedback, because as a startup you have limited resources. In terms of sales versus channel, my perspective, it's the same thing. A CRO needs to manage both. It's need to roll out to the same person. It's just a different way of doing the same thing. So if you take the big companies of the world, the NICE, the Verint, the AWS, the Microsoft, and any checkpoint, most of them don't sell direct. They sell direct maybe to a selected few companies, and most of the sales go through partners. There are a lot of reasons why. Some of it is to have someone in between. So, Microsoft has this terms, and their partner signs up to the Microsoft contract, and the partners are willing to take some risk with the end user. Some of it is access to the territory. Something is knowing the language. So there are different ways why you should partner. And yes, if you partner in a channel perspective, you lose some of the revenue. So you need to make sure that the increase by using using this channel will increase the revenue, because you are giving away, let's say, 20% of the deal for the partner, or 30% of the deal, 50% of the deal, whatever. It depends what's value does the partner brings you. And this is why I think it needs to roll out to the CRO. Otherwise, you're giving lousy deals to partners. You're not supporting the partners. At the end of the day, at AWS, when someone is an account manager, he is the account manager, but the deal goes through a partner. So I think it's the same thing in the channel perspective. But you have another thing to manage, not just the customer, also the channel itself.